This podcast is powered by the Mitt TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than the Mitt TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the Mitt TV podcast studio in Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and to schedule a studio visit at mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com. We have Jamie Lucero in the Mitt TV podcast studios tonight. We're continuing on with our get to know the politicians, the candidates that are running this November 5th. And Jamie, we always get a lot of viewers that ask for this kind of thing this time of year because we're all busy.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't even know what the village of Romeo is made up of. You know, who does what, who's responsible for what. So we just kind of put together an informal interview, and mostly we just want to kind of know about you. We know that you have just recently been appointed in the clerk position for the village of Romeo. And then then you need to be a write-in for the November 5th ballot.
Correct.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your family, how long you've been here, what you do in the neighborhood?
Yeah, so I've been a resident of Romeo, the village, about 12 years. We moved up here in between my son, his 8th grade and 9th grade. We were deciding where we were in Chippewa Valley. It's a great school district.
Yeah.
But it was getting a little congested, a little too overpopulated. So my wife and I, we decided at the time we would like to move somewhere a little bit slower, and we had said, wherever we land, we're committed for 4 years. So we had a very small window. We had some friends up this way. We had visited some friends on Tilson during Halloween. Yeah. Which I don't know if that's a good gauge of the village. No. But we asked them, their views, and they were like, we love it here. And so we started looking more and more, and ultimately made the leap right before, I think it was in August, like right before school started, we moved up here. At the time I was in finance. I had been I've been in finance for a number of years. Moving up here, my office was in Southfield, and it just ended up becoming too big of a drive. So when the opportunity came from a mutual friend of mine and another gentleman to partner in a business, I jumped at it because I saw it as a opportunity to kind of get away from the daily grind. But also kind of shrink my radius, so to say, where I'm not having to go out, because I was starting to become a creature of habit. I loved it, but I loved being around here. Anytime I had to go south of 59, it was like, oh my God, too many people.
Yeah.
Right? So then I did that for a number of years. So I come from private business. I've owned a number of companies, and so when the clerkship became available originally, a number of people had asked me to step up, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I really wanted to do it right. But then after seeing it be available for going on a little over 2 months, I was kind of against it, just because I didn't want to get into politics. I didn't want to get into, there's a lot of emotions in politics, right?
Yeah.
And, but my wife reminded me of my values, and I always tell people, if you have the ability to do something about anything, if you have the means and ability to do something and you don't deserve the right to complain.
True. I believe that too.
So when I found out nobody had stepped up for, I think it was their uh, third open interview meeting, um, I had called the president and told her, I'm in play. I'll send you a letter of interest.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I can't allow this. Just as someone who cares about the community, and I know I have the means and ability, and I know I could do the job and take care of the village in the way it deserved to be taken care of from the perspective of that position.
Right.
So I stepped up, and I'm glad I did. It's not that much different from running a company. I mean, at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, and I said this in my in the meeting where I was appointed. Um, the village is a business at the end of the day, and
Right.
and you need to run it.
I've always said that.
Yeah,
It's a business. It should have business people in those positions.
yeah. I mean,
In everything, in every government.
or at least
I
an
believe that.
acumen, a
Yeah.
certain acumen for business where you understand uh, basic business concepts or
Mm-hmm.
constructs, right? It's so stepping into this and looking at the practices of predecessors and everything, and uh, sitting here and identifying deficiencies and stuff, and just
Mm-hmm.
basically taking a business approach that, if this was a business I was looking at to get involved with, what would I want to see? And that's kind of the first layer of what I've been doing as far as assessing
Mm-hmm.
the overall health of the business, and in identifying the things that may be wrong or allowed to persist too long, and come up with policies to stave off any kind of hemorrhaging that might be going on, right?
Right. Well, you put boots on the ground right away.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
soon as you were in place. I mean, by the next meeting, I was blown away. By the next meeting, you came to that meeting with just not a, hey, hi, I'm in the position.
Yeah,
You did a lot of work, a lot of investigation before that meeting. Like, I
yeah,
believe you just got in there like 2 weeks before that.
yeah. I was so to go back a little bit more about myself, when I first got in here, uh seeing how close knit the community was too, um it really prompted me to want to get more involved in the community. My son was in the high school, got involved. He was
What grade is he this year?
Oh, he's graduated. He graduated in 17.
Oh, okay.
So he was a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to know Jim Calley and Mike Stabley very well,
Oh,
his
sure.
coaches, and started doing fundraising with them, getting involved with the community. And
Mm-hmm.
then when he graduated, I was still helping them during Peach Festival to fundraise, and a parking lot that we had set up for as a
Oh.
fundraiser for the wrestling team. One of the gentlemen whose businesses were where the parking lot is said, "Your son's graduated. Why are you still doing this?" And I said, "Well, someone needs to." And he goes,
Yeah.
"You're good people. I want to introduce you to what it is to be a lion. We throw on Peach Festival. Come over here." And we were sold from that moment forward. Like, okay, we were kind of looking for that pivot, right? We no longer had a
Mm-hmm.
kid in high school, so how can we still affect change and do good in the community? So we joined the Lions.
And they needed the new blood.
Yeah, so it's been awesome doing that. But because of that, when I was appointed, I could only work about a week because we had Peach Festival coming up.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and then right after Peach Festival, I had already committed to walking with Neighbors United, which is a nonprofit that raises funds for firefighters battling cancer.
Okay.
And I committed to walking 140 miles across the state with them
Wow.
right after Peach Fest. That was my mistake and oversight. I didn't realize it was literally 3 days after.
Wow. And
Um,
you were busy.
yeah. So when I came back into the office, I had another week and a half before the meeting. So it was roughly 2.5 weeks. Uh, they were non-consecutive weeks,
Mm-hmm.
but the weeks I was there, I was working from say 8:30 until about 8 o'clock at night, just digging up stuff, looking at stuff, just to get a lay of the land too, right?
Mm-hmm.
To understand what it is exactly I actually stepped into. And a lot of the stuff I was seeing and found are issues that have just existed for far too long.
Sure.
And that's why when one of the trustees made the comment at the last meeting, that they didn't understand that I had only been here for 2.5 weeks,
Yeah. I watched
and
that. I
yeah,
watch them all.
and that what did I just wave a magic wand and magically find this stuff? And I had to laugh a little, and I said no, it just required someone to be thorough, and I literally found it just sitting on top just by looking through things.
And you hadn't even
Um,
dug deep yet.
no, which is why it does concern me the further I go. But at the same time, like I'm saying, I'm committed to this position now because I'm finding these things. I know I can handle them, and it's a little bit of a feeling of uh, if not me, then who?
Mm-hmm.
Because these things, like I said, have existed for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they need to be addressed. They need to be taken care of. I want to work with everybody. I don't want a contentious relationship. I know
Sure.
for a number of years, this position has held a contentious relationship with the board or even the resident at times.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I can't be clearer that I want a positive relationship and interaction with those two entities. And also, I didn't make my statements about my findings lightly because, as I identified, I'm a resident as well.
Right.
So anything I say, anything I do in the position of the clerk, um, it will affect me at the end of the day, either positively or negatively, right? I'm a resident. And that's why I believe it is incumbent upon me to be thorough and
Mm-hmm.
not just speak haphazardly and just speak to speak. That's why the issues that I brought up, I said, I'm identifying these now. I will bring you
Right.
guys budgets and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, and as they progress. But also, I'm going to find more things, and it's going to likely look worse before it gets
Before it
better,
gets better.
right?
Right.
Um,
Well, we've known each other for years, and
yeah,
you do have the reputation of you don't just come to the table with problems. You always bring a solution
yeah,
with you. You always have an idea on how to fix it. So
mm,
it's refreshing, knowing that, we do have somebody in that position now. And, you're not saying this exactly, but it's kind of like once you got in there, it's going to take you longer than November to fix things.
yeah.
And so is that why you're you're going to run
I
for
uh,
another 4 years? Is
I
it 4 years?
it's two. It's
Is it two
two
for
and then
clerk?
and then it's four. Well, no, it's a 4-year term, but the former clerk, she stepped down in the middle. So it would be if elected, I would run out the rest of her term
Oh,
and
okay.
then in 2 years have to seek 4 years. Um,
So why do you have to be a write-in on the ballot?
it's my understanding that it would have had to have gone to ballot regardless. If they appointed anyone, it still
Mm-hmm.
had to be voted on. But and I might be completely wrong on this. This is just like I said, my understanding, and that it's by the time I was appointed, it was too late to put me on the actual
Oh,
ballot because
yeah.
things were already
Early
in
voting
motion
and
at the county level
mm-hmm.
to get the ballot out, and there was no opportunity for edits at that point.
Yeah.
So I had to run as a write-in. To my knowledge, um, there are no other write-ins.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that might change now
Well,
that
they only
I've
have
talked.
a month and a half.
Yeah, I think the rules for write-ins are October 23rd.
Mm.
People can be placed as a write-in up till then. But
And what does it mean to be a write-in? What will people physically see on the ballot
it
when they
will
go to the
say,
polls?
so you'll have a space on it that'll say, like anything else, it'll say the title of the position, will say uh, Clerk, Village of Romeo,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll have the little dot to fill out, and it'll just be blank. Um,
Oh, okay.
so what people have to do is then write my name now, and I found this out that you don't necessarily have to spell my name
I
correctly.
was gonna ask
Yeah,
that because
I
that's
was
a tough name.
yeah, I was looking up, and I actually called the Macomb County Clerk's office and asked them this. And I said, "Hey, I'd read this somewhere. I think it was FEC, um, and so I'm just trying to understand
Mm-hmm.
because there were two issues. My wife had read that I could stand outside of polling as long as I was set back far enough, right,
Right.
where you can be,
Right.
and I could hand out labels. That way,
Right.
people don't have to write my name. They could literally just put a sticker on and signify that they're voting for me. Um, but I also read that as long as there is, because it has to be counted by hand, and
Mm-hmm.
the people inspecting have to physically mark down that how many votes that I got.
Mm-hmm.
It is up to their discretion, and essentially it is if they can say that a reasonable effort was made to spell my name,
Right.
like we were talking earlier, joking around that people call me Lucero all the time,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
If someone calls me Janie Lucero and just
Yeah.
changes both names, but if you're looking at it and said, well, the guy running is Jamie Lucero,
Right.
it stands to reason that that's him.
Yeah.
That counts too. But
Well, how else? You only have like 21 days, 22 days. How long is it to
well, it's what, November
5th?
5th.
So how do you get your
So
name out there? Are you gonna
so I
run a
got
campaign? Are you gonna get signs
yeah.
out? What are you gonna do?
So I have signs and door hangers coming.
Good.
The signs should be here soon, I think. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear back. I know they were ordered I think
So you
Friday.
really
I
just
ordered them
have to
Friday.
run a very short campaign.
Yeah, it's just basically getting the spelling of my name out there,
Yeah.
and I'm putting door hangers out there too, just so people know the spelling of my
Mm-hmm.
name, and it outlines everything I've said from the meeting that I got appointed,
Mm-hmm.
and all the way until this last special meeting that my mission is to preserve the history while also trying to look towards the future and really kind of insulate the village from these issues
Mm-hmm.
and truly I think that in the village we need to change a mindset that we've been in at least as long as I've been a resident, which is, and you find this a lot in politics too, more so in the local level than
Mm-hmm.
in the national level, is small town politics or local level politics. They're always very reactive.
Mm-hmm.
They typically, because you're not dealing with large budgets and you're not dealing with a lot of people, because a lot of these measures take manpower, right?
Right.
Um, we're a little different than most uh, villages. Most villages, I just looked at a list. I think there's maybe two or three that are just about the same size as us,
What size is the village?
about 3,800 people.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's small.
yeah, I mean, other villages, the ones that are close to us are like in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's one, I believe, that's in the 3000s. But by and large, most villages sit somewhere in like the 1,500
Mm-hmm.
residents, all the way down to like 300 residents. And so when you're talking about size of community, right? When you have to look at things like services and stuff like that and being proactive, um, you also have to look at similar sized communities, whether they be a different government structure like a township, right? Because you could look at Bruce and say we're almost on par
Mm-hmm.
with them, right? Similar size community. Uh, maybe not geographically, maybe, I mean, their footprint is way larger than
Sure,
ours, right?
sure.
Um, but you also have to look at the services that are offered.
Mm-hmm.
Not many villages have a DPW. Not
Right.
many villages have a wastewater treatment plant and an entire water service.
Mm-hmm.
Not many villages have their own police department. So when you look at these things, you begin to realize that we are the exception and not the rule.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's incumbent upon us to maybe do things differently because we are lucky. I realize that in the last couple meetings, I've created a paradox that,
Mm-hmm. We've only had two.
yeah, yeah, that,
And you're
yeah,
short physically.
yeah, I made a splash. I keep joking around with
You did.
my father-in-law lives out in Montana, and I keep sending him a
Clips?
picture. Well, no, just pictures of the front page of the local newspaper, The
Oh,
Record. And I'm
yeah.
like, made the
Right
front
to the
page
front
again.
page. Yeah,
But
it's not always a good thing
yeah,
around here.
but but I know people are taking it as I'm saying we don't have money, but at the same time, I'm saying we need to spend a lot of money.
Right.
And there is a world where both can be true.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things you can't escape. You have to address them.
Yeah.
And especially when you have something like the village where it is like we've already stated that things have been allowed to exist and persist for so long, you get to a point where you have to address them regardless. It just you have to at this
Right.
point.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Exactly. And and the president and I are going through and looking at grant funding and everything else, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also going to take a lot of hard decisions and also difficult conversations. And I'm a firm believer that progress is made in the difficult conversations, right? You talk about the
Mm-hmm.
things that aren't necessarily the nicest things to talk about, but you have to address them and figure them out.
Right. Right.
Um, and that's where we're at right now. We need to figure these things out because for me, I'm committed to this area. I love this village.
Right.
And otherwise, I wouldn't be doing, I mean, anything that I've done over the last 12 years, whether it be with the school and supporting them or the Lions or
Mm-hmm.
just the clerkship or just day-to-day interactions. I wouldn't do any of it if I didn't care about this village. And I look at it as if we really truly want this place to be around for future generations,
Mm-hmm.
we have to do what's right, not only by us, but them. And also, again, acknowledging we're in a unique position. We also have to still honor those that came before us. But but I truly believe in honoring them and their sacrifices. That is what I am advocating for
Yeah.
is moving forward, being
Right.
proactive, getting in front of things before identifying things that could potentially be issues and concerns
Mm-hmm.
and addressing them.
Right.
And my argument to that is, there's a lot of people that, one resident and I don't know if it was professional. I did laugh a little bit because I I saw the resident, they're running for trustee, and I saw them after my first meeting. And the president and I met up with a few people at Main
Mm-hmm.
Street, and a couple trustees and this individual were laughing, having a drink. They were not as deeply concerned or disturbed as they said they were, at least,
It's a political year.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I don't blame them, right?
Yeah.
If you're running
Mm-hmm.
for office, you can't let any chance to be political and put your flag in the dirt. You can't let any chance pass you by.
Yeah.
But what I'm arguing is that we are at a point where politicizing does not help us anymore. We need to act.
Right.
And I think you and I spoke about this
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago. I said we are at a literal moment in time in this village that it's going to require everybody who claims they care about this village to
Right.
roll up their sleeves, get a little dirty, and work for a common goal.
Yep.
And that's why when I said, I chuckled a little bit when they said, you know, maybe we aren't insolvent, but and I'm paraphrasing,
Yeah.
but maybe we aren't insolvent, but we will be. Maybe the insolvency comes when we do everything that Mr. Lucero was
Yeah.
stating. And I laughed. And I won't lie. I laughed because I was like,
Well,
actually,
how's it working for you now?
yeah, not just that, but like from the political end, I was like, actually, that was a good statement. I'll give you points on that
Yeah.
one. But I look at it this way too. I was talking to a former police chief and a former chief of fire, and we were talking. They weren't from this community; they live in the community, um, and they said, "You are the smoke detector." And I said, "Excuse me."
I like that.
And when they explained it, then I was like, "Oh man, I wish I would have thought of that analogy." And they said,
You like analogies too.
he said the smoke detector, it's the early warning system. Its job is not to put out the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Its job is to alert the people who can put out the fire
Right.
and give you time to put out the fire. And he goes, "You are the smoke detector right now, and you're willing to be one of the people that will grab a pail and throw water, but you are asking, you're raising issue and asking
Mm-hmm.
others to join in."
Right.
And I like that analogy because that's truly what I feel like I'm doing is I'm not saying I'm the only guy that can fix this.
Mm-hmm.
I literally told the board, I need you guys. I need to work with you guys.
Well, you were the
And
only one that stepped up too. So,
yeah,
you know, what would you tell your viewers why they need to think about how to spell your name, how to say your name, spell your name, and write your name come this November?
I mean, I feel like I was if they didn't see the videos in my comments, I would say please go back and view them. But actually,
That would be the September
the September board
meeting
meeting,
and the October, or
I,
no, the August meeting and then the September meeting. Because you gave your report in August when you first got in.
yeah.
And then
Oh no, no, I
September, well,
gave
no,
it
that was the special
September.
meeting.
I gave it in September. Was it the 18th, I
Yeah.
think, and then
And then there was a
the
special meeting
22nd, or no, the 26th
was the special
was the
meeting.
special meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would look. I would say, or September 16th, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, actually listen to my words. Don't allow others to uh, regurgitate what I said or skew what I said. Listen to what I said, and what I said was a warning that things need to happen. We are no longer at a position where we can kick the can down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you want someone who's going to step into this role, who is going to be thorough, like I believe is the job requires, and I believe anything less than being thorough in this job,
Mm-hmm.
in this position, is a disservice to the village. I operate um, by the same standards I would hold anybody else who stepped into this role
Mm-hmm.
too. So if you want someone who's going to be thorough, who is going to do the job, and not just do the job, but go above and beyond, and at every turn have the resident and the village in mind, and be cognizant of their actions and how that will affect everything, then please vote for me. If you feel that I'm not, and you know, if you feel that I'm not your person, that's fine too.
Yeah.
I'm willing to
Well,
accept it. But I will ask anybody who might be stepping up now just because they were upset that I said what I said, and you know, to go back a little, the only contention with people, and there's only been a handful,
yeah.
and I'm not discounting them. I don't discount anybody's feelings
Yeah.
or perceptions, but it has been surrounding verbiage over substance. It's
Mm-hmm.
how I said what I said rather than what I actually said.
Right. Right.
And so if you want to vote for someone else, I would ask, where were those people for 2 months and a week? Um,
Well, I don't
because I
see
was,
anybody stepping up, so
yeah,
I don't think that's going to be a problem.
I mean, I just, I identified I need 180 days.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm so lucky as to have that 180 days, if the residents give me the 180 days so that we can finally figure this village out. And again, I don't disparage anybody that came
Mm-hmm.
before me. They were put in impossible situations, and I made that very, very clear again,
Yes, you did.
because I don't want any of the longtime clerks being upset with what I said. They were put in an impossible situation to have to wear way too many hats and do everything when this is a business,
Mm-hmm.
and businesses this size, they have very robust executive and management teams. And so to make one person do it all, one person can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we got into this position.
Right.
So if you want someone competent that will work and to get the job done and will always be upfront and honest, no matter how
No
difficult
matter
the
what.
conversation's
Mm-hmm.
going to be, then please give me your vote. And I
And
would appreciate it.
and say your name and spell
Yeah.
it.
It's Jamie Lucero, JamieLucero.
There you go.
That's how you spell
Well, Jamie, thank you very much for
it.
coming
Yeah,
to our program. We are glad
my
to
pleasure.
get you in here,
Yeah,
so people get to know you and know that you're a write-in and know that they need to write your name in there when they
yeah.
vote November 1st.
I'd
No,
appreciate
November
it.
5th.
November 5th. Yeah,
Right. All right.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.